Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Lead me from darkness to the light. It is 60 years now since we became a free nation. 60 years, a mere moment in our long and turbulent history, going back to the dawn of civilization. But years of special significance, because they represent our new beginning as a sovereign, independent republic. Years that have seen triumph and tragedy, hope and despair. For generations born after 1947, freedom is something that is taken for granted, something that is always there. But they are largely unaware of the struggle and sacrifice, the courage and compassion, the awakening of the masses, and the growth of separatism, all of which converged in the historic events of 1947. The triumph of freedom and the tragedy of partition. Our freedom movement brought out the best in our people, cutting across all barriers of caste or creed, of religion or language. It produced great leaders who have left an indelible mark on the pages of history. There was, of course, the dominating figure of Mahatma Gandhi, revered as the father of the nation, whose unique philosophy of political activism was based on the twin pillars of Ahimsa, non-violence, and Satyagraha, adherence to truth. A philosophy which not only galvanized India to shake off the most powerful colonial empire the world had ever seen, but influenced movements as far afield as the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, led by Nelson Mandela, and the civil rights movement in the United States, led by Martin Luther King Jr. There was Jawaharlal Nehru, the charismatic leader of the freedom movement, Gandhi's chosen heir, India's first Prime Minister from 15th August 1947 for 17 years, world statesman, visionary thinker, writer, administrator, who led India through the turbulence of partition and the birth pangs of independence. In this task, he was ably complemented by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, India's first Home Minister, the Iron Man who performed the almost miraculous feat of ensuring the integration of hundreds of princely states which had dotted the map of India into a patchwork quilt, thus ensuring the unity of the new republic. Then we had Nobel laureate Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, the poet of beauty and creativity, whose verses not only gave two nations their national anthems, ours and Bangladesh, but continue to reverberate down to the present day. We also had great scholars like Dr. Radhakrishnan, the brilliant exponent of the Vedanta, which is the crest jewel of Hindu philosophy, and Dr. Zakir Hussain, the dignified Islamic scholar who succeeded Dr. Radhakrishnan as President of India. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was also a leading figure in our national movement, having been thrice President of the Indian National Congress. A profound Arabic and Persian scholar, whose commentary on the Quran and other works are classics, he became India's first Minister for Education and was responsible for setting up the Sahitya, Lalit Kala, and Sangeet Natak Academies, and also the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Several great leaders did not occupy official posts, such as the fiery and charismatic Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, whose founding of the Indian National Army in Southeast Asia shook the British out of their complacency. The great Dalit icon, Babasaheb Dr. R Ambedkar, was an outstanding constitutional expert and ably guided the drafting committee that produced our constitution. Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal's only child, grew up in the very midst of the freedom struggle and then went on to become India's first woman Prime Minister for 3 terms before she fell to the assassin's bullets. Her contribution to our unprecedented victory in the Bangladesh War, as well as to measures designed to alleviate poverty, will long be remembered. Her astounding political comeback from defeat after the emergency was extraordinary. She was succeeded by her son Rajiv Gandhi, a handsome and idealistic young man who had a dream of a strong and prosperous India in the 21st century. His assassination after a single term in office was a tragedy that cut short a promising life and removed a young leader who would surely have played a major role in the development of contemporary India. In the recordings that follow, we have been able to capture the actual voices of these remarkable leaders, so that millions who were not even born when they were living can derive inspiration therefrom. The first CD edition of Voices of Freedom came out in 1997, when we celebrated the 50th birthday of our independence. And this new CD edition is being issued as part of our 60th anniversary celebrations. The voices themselves will, of course, remain a permanent source of inspiration, as well as of historical and archival importance. It was the day before the new dawn, a day of rain and storm and thunder before the brilliant sunshine and ecstatic happiness of 15th August 1947. It was a day when the prolonged pangs of decades of labor and the trauma of partition slowly died away, and a newborn nation was delivered to the fervent cries of Vande Mataram. They were 2 short days, 2 brief moments in the continuum of time towards which Indians had strived for decades. On the stroke of the midnight hour, when August 14th passed into history and August 15th was born, at that witching hour, while the world slept, India kept its tryst with destiny and awoke to a new life and to freedom. Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister of Free India, spoke in the Central Hall of Parliament to assembled members of the Constituent Assembly.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not only or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance. It is fitting that at this solemn moment we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity. At the dawn of history, India started on her unending quest, and trackless centuries are filled with her striving and the grandeur of her successes and her failures. Through good and ill fortune alike, she has never lost sight of that quest or forgotten the ideals which gave her strength. We end today a period of ill fortune, and India discovers herself again. The achievement we celebrate today is but a step, an opening of opportunity to the greater triumphs and achievements that await us. Are we brave enough and wise enough to grasp this opportunity and accept the challenge of the future? Freedom and power bring responsibility. That responsibility rests upon this assembly, a sovereign body representing the sovereign people of India. Before the birth of freedom, we have endured all the pains of labor, and our hearts are heavy with the memory of this sorrow. Some of those pains continue even now. Nevertheless, the past is over, and it is the future that beckons to us now. That future is not one of ease or resting, but of incessant striving, so that we might fulfill the pledges we have so often taken, and the one we shall take today. The service of India means the service of the millions who suffer. It means the ending of poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality of opportunity. The ambition of the greatest man of our generation has been to wipe every tear from every eye. That may be beyond us, but so long as there are tears and suffering, so long our work will not be over. And so we have to labor and to work hard to give reality to our dreams. Those dreams are for India, but they are also for the world, for all the nations and peoples are too closely knit together today for any one of them to imagine that it can live apart. Peace has been said to be indivisible, so is freedom, so is prosperity now, and so also is disaster in this one world that can no longer be split into isolated fragments.
At the stroke of midnight, as conches blew and bells pealed, the Constituent Assembly rose as one man to pledge itself to the service of a free nation and a free people. Later in Freedom's Day, hundreds of thousands of people gathered near New Delhi's India Gate to watch the official raising of the Indian national flag. It was a powerful symbol of hope, a happy synchronicity, when a brilliant rainbow appeared in the sky just as the national flag was raised. Lord Louis Mountbatten, the last British Viceroy, became the first Governor General of Free India. In his novel Anandamath, the great writer Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay had composed the immortal song Vande Mataram, Hail to the Mother. This became the rallying cry of the freedom movement, and thousands of patriots went to the gallows with these two words on their lips. It had indeed become the marching song of a nation surging to freedom.
कमलदल विहारिणे त्वं हि दुर्गा दश प्रहरणधारिणे कमल कमलदल विहारिणे वाणी विद्यादायिने नमामि त्वां नमामि कमलं कमलं अतुलं सुजलं सुफलं मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं श्यामलां सरलां सुस्मितां भूषितां धरणीं वरणीं मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे
Tagore Jana Gana Mana became the national anthem, but no one ever forgot the anthem of freedom, and it was Vande Mataram that rent the air on 15th August 1947. Decades earlier, Gurudev had written in his Nobel Prize-winning collection of poems Gitanjali, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. And at last, amidst all the turmoil and sacrifice, the triumph and the tragedy, the country had awoken after a long sleep of colonialism and foreign domination. And in the vision of Tagore's poetry, recited here by the great poet himself in Bengali, he saluted the unique, multifaceted culture of India and foresaw its role in the future evolution of consciousness.
পূর্ণ তীর্থে জাগরে ধীরে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে হেতায় দাঁড়ায় দুবাহু বাড়ায় নমি নর দেবতারে উদার ছন্দে পরমানন্দে বন্দন করি তারে ধ্যান গম্ভীর এই যে ভূধর নদী জপমালা থেত প্রান্তর হেথায় নিত্য হার পবিত্র ধরিত্রী রে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে কেহ নাহি জানে কার আহ্বানে কত মানুষের ধারা দুর্বার স্রোতে লোকসা হতে সমুদ্রে হলো হারা হেথায় আর্য হেথা অনার্য হেথায় দ্রাবিড় চীন সকহন দল পাঠানো মোগল এক দেহে হলো লীন পশ্চিমে আজি খুলিয়াছে দ্বার সেটা হতে সবে আনে উপহার দিবে আর নিবে মিলাবে মিলিবে যাবে না ফিরে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে হেথা এক ঋণ বিরামবিহীন মহা ওঙ্কার ধ্বনি হৃদয় যন্ত্রে একের মন্ত্রে উঠেছিল রণরণী তপস্যা বলে একের অনলে বহুরে আহুতি দিয়া বিভেদ ভুলিল জাগায় তুলিল একটি বিরাট হিয়া সেই সাধনার সে আরাধনার যজ্ঞশালায় খোলা জিদার হেথায় সবারে হবে মিলিবারে আনত শিরে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে সেই হোমানলে হেরো আজি জলে দুঃখের রক্ত শিখা হবে তা শহীদে মর্মে দহিতে আছে সে ভাগ্যে লিখা এ দুঃখ বহন করো মোর মন শোনো রে একের ডাক যত লাজ ভয় করো করো জয় অপমান দূরে যাক দুঃসহ ব্যথা হয়ে অবসান জন্ম লভিবে কি বিশাল প্রাণ পোহায় রজনী জাগেছে জননী বিপুল নীরে এই ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে এসো হে আর্য এসো অনার্য হিন্দু মুসলমান এসো এসো আজ তুমি ইংরাজ এসো এসো খ্রিস্টান এসো ব্রাহ্মণ সূচি করি মন ধরো হাত সবাকার এসো হে পতিত হোক অপনীত সব অপমান ভাত মার অভিষেকে এসো এসো তারা মঙ্গল ঘট হয়নি যে ভরা সবার পরশে পবিত্র করা তীর্থ নীরে আজি ভারতের মহামানবের সাগর তীরে।
The heart began going out of imperialism when, in the freedom movement led by the Indian National Congress, the moderates and the extremists succeeded the reformers. Gopal Krishna Gokhale foresaw a self-governing India, living in peaceful cooperation with Britain. The fiery Lokmanya, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, proclaimed that Swaraj was his birthright and that he would have it. And Arabinda Ghosh, later the great yogi Sri Aurobindo, sought to blast the foundations of British rule, if necessary by force. He wrote, "A subject nation does not prepare itself by gradual progress for liberty. It opens by liberty its way to rapid progress." There were other great leaders of the freedom movement, Bipin Chandra Pal and Lala Lajpat Rai, V.D. Savarkar and C. Rajagopalachari, Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Acharya Narendra Dev, and many others. But the man who was destined to lead the nation's liberation movement to final victory was a frail, bespectacled barrister, whose fame had preceded him before he landed at the gateway of India in 1915. Influenced by his own Vaishnava and Jain traditions, by the Bible and its advice to turn the other cheek, by Henry Thoreau's assertion of the individual's right to ignore unjust laws and refuse allegiance to a tyrannical government, and by Leo Tolstoy's insistence on practicing moral principles in his everyday life, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi had challenged the racial laws of the South African government in 1906. And from that challenge, new principles of political and social struggle were born. Satyagraha, truth force, and Ahimsa, non-violence. No political leader was closer to the people than Gandhi. He toured the country incessantly, traveling like a commoner, led a Spartan existence, shedding the garb of an educated gentleman in favor of the humble loincloth. His political philosophy evolved over the next 3 decades, starting with his first Satyagraha in India in support of the peasants of Champaran, Bihar, against the white indigo planters. But it took the Rowlatt Act of 1919, which authorized the government to arrest anyone without a warrant, to spark the first major Gandhian protest on Indian soil, leading to civil disobedience and non-cooperation. The horror of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919 put Indians firmly on the path of confrontation with the imperial power. A decade of negotiations followed, while Gandhiji spun his charkha at his ashram on the banks of the Sabarmati near Ahmedabad. On March 12, 1930, Mahatma Gandhi led 78 selected followers from Sabarmati ashram on a historic march to the beach at Dandi to harvest salt and defy the salt tax laws of the British government. On the 5th April, he reached Dandi, 240 miles away, and on the 6th he went down to a stretch of marsh and, as the sun rose over the horizon, bent down, picked up a handful of non-purified salt and held it out in a historic gesture. Jawaharlal Nehru wrote later in his autobiography, "As we saw the abounding enthusiasm of the people and the way salt making was spreading like a prairie fire, we felt a little abashed and ashamed for having questioned the efficacy of this method when it was first proposed by Gandhiji, and we marveled at the amazing knack of the man to impress the multitude and make it act in an organized way."
बिना ढाल साबरमती की संत तूने कर दिया कमाल दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड्ग बिना ढाल साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल आंधी में भी जलती धरती पे लड़ी तूने अजब ढब की लड़ाई, दागे न कहीं तोप न बंदूक चलाई, दुश्मन के किले पर भी न की तूने चढ़ाई, बाहरी फकीर खूब करामात दिखाई, चुटकी में दुश्मनों को दिया देश से निकाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड्ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, शतरंज बिछा कर यहाँ बैठा था जमाना, लगता था कि मुश्किल है फिरंगी को हराना, टक्कर थी बड़े जोर की दुश्मन भी था ताना, पर तू भी था बापू बड़ा उस्ताद पुराना, मारा वो कस के दाव की उल्टी सभी की चाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड्ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, जब जब तेरा बिगुल बजा जवान चल पड़े, मजदूर चल पड़े थे और किसान चल पड़े, हिंदू वो मुसलमान सिख पठान चल पड़े, कदमों पे तेरे कोटि कोटि प्राण चल पड़े, खूनों की सेज छोड़ के दौड़े जवाहरलाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड्ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, मन में थी अहिंसा की लगन तन पे लंगोटी, लाखों में घूमता था लिए सत्य की सोटी, वैसे तो देखने में थी हस्ती तेरी छोटी, लेकिन तुझे झुकती थी हिमालय की भी चोटी, दुनिया में तू बेजोड़ था इंसान बेमिसाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड्ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, जग में कोई जिया है तो बापू तू ही जिया, तूने वतन की राह पे सब कुछ लुटा दिया, मांगा न कोई तख्त न तो ताज ही लिया, अमृत दिया सभी को मगर खुद जहर पिया, जिस दिन तेरी चिता जली रोया था महाकाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड्ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, रघुपति राघव।
The signal had been given, a handful of salt, a fundamental right, and only freedom would assure that. Independence was now the goal. Dedicated as he was to India's freedom, however, this was not Gandhiji's sole purpose in life. He was a living example of righteousness, a true seeker of justice and equality for all. While he tried at all times to practice the noblest precepts of Hindu dharma, compassion, truthfulness and universal love, he was also a tireless crusader against its evils. I regard untouchability as the greatest blot on Hinduism, he wrote. Untouchability has degraded us. He gave the untouchables a new name, Harijans, the children of God, washed their feet and made his fellow residents at the Sabarmati ashram follow suit. In Delhi, he lived in their colony and undertook a fast unto death to ensure that the Dalits remained a part of free India forever. While Gandhi was regarded with affection and respect by millions willing to make sacrifices for the cause of freedom through Ahimsa, there were others who felt that non-violence was not the way to freedom. The most prominent among them was Subhash Chandra Bose, who had been elected Congress President in 1939, the year World War II broke out. When he differed with Gandhiji, Netaji broke with the Congress, founded his forward bloc, and escaped British detention to seek an accommodation with the Germans and the Japanese. In Southeast Asia, he issued his stirring call to all Indians overseas and those who were prisoners of war of the Japanese to volunteer for his Indian National Army that would march side by side with the Imperial Japanese Army to liberate India.
I am overjoyed to see that you have already realized that the responsibility of winning freedom does not rest merely on the shoulders of our countrymen at home. It is but natural that they should bear the brunt of the burden, and they have been doing so already. But at the same time, every Indian, no matter where he may be living at the present time, has a duty towards his country, and he must contribute his due share towards the final victory. I am convinced that India cannot hope to be free until all Indians living abroad perform their duty in this momentous world crisis. The task of liberating India is ours and ours alone. That responsibility we shall not cast on anybody else, because that would be against our national honor. Moreover, we have no right to ask for or expect help from any quarter until we ourselves have first of all done our very utmost. Our countrymen and our sisters and brothers at home have been doing their best in the circumstances in which they are placed. But the enemy is ruthless and desperate, and he is armed to the teeth. Against such a brutal foe, no amount of civil disobedience or of sabotage or of revolutionary terrorism can be of any avail. If therefore we want to expel British power from India, we have to fight the enemy with his own weapons. The enemy has already drawn the sword. He must therefore be fought with the sword. But it is not possible for our countrymen at home to organize an armed revolution and to fight the British army of occupation with modern arms. This is a task which must therefore devolve on Indians living abroad, and particularly on Indians living in East Asia. Friends, if you compare the history of our national struggle with the histories of similar struggles in other parts of the world, you will realize that we in India have lacked one thing and one thing alone. We lack the strength and organization whereby we can meet force with force. It is our task here in East Asia to supply this one want and thereby eliminate once for all the only drawback that we have in our national struggle. I therefore desire that all able-bodied Indians living in East Asia should volunteer to fight with me for the liberation of our motherland. This is our supreme task and duty, before which no other type of service counts for much. All those countrymen of mine who are prepared to fight for the liberation of India will please get into touch with me at once, either direct or through their local organizations. I am confident that with the help of my countrymen in East Asia, I shall be able to organize such a gigantic force as will be able to sweep away the British power from India in conjunction with those who have already been fighting at home. The hour has struck, and every patriotic Indian must advance towards the field of battle. Only when the blood of freedom-loving Indians begins to flow will India attain her freedom. इनकलाब जिंदाबाद, आजाद हिंद जिंदाबाद।
कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा। कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा। कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा। तू शेर हिंद आगे बढ़, बनने से फिर भी तू न डर। तू शेर हिंद आगे बढ़, बनने से फिर भी तू न डर। उड़ा के दुश्मनों का शर, जोशे वतन बढ़ाएगा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा, खुशी के गीत गाएगा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाएगा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा। तेरी हिम्मत बढ़ती रहे, खुदा तेरी सुनता रहे। तेरी हिम्मत बढ़ती रहे, खुदा तेरी सुनता रहे। जो सामने तेरे आए तो खाक में मिलाएगा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा, खुशी के गीत गाएगा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की कौम पे लुटाएगा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा। चलो दिली पुकार के, मम्मी निशा संभाल के। चलो दिली पुकार के, मम्मी निशा संभाल के। लाल किले पे गाड़ के लहराए जा, लहराए जा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा, खुशी के गीत गाएगा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाएगा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा, खुशी के गीत गाएगा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाएगा। कदम कदम बढ़ाएगा, खुशी के गीत गाएगा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाएगा।
Even as Netaji was raising an army to free India, Gandhiji was rallying the nation to oust its masters. But his call was one of peace. Quit India in peace, he called to India's rulers. Otherwise, the will of millions courting arrest and refusing to serve you will bring your reign to a standstill and force you to leave. Millions offered to peacefully protest in the streets of urban India and the dirt tracks of rural India, to court arrest and suffer grim imprisonment. In 1942, Gandhiji spoke the words that launched the people of India on the final push to ousting the British in a manner the world had never before witnessed. On July 14th, the Congress Working Committee met in Wardha and passed a 700-word resolution calling on the British to quit India. There is no question of a last chance, Gandhiji told the press. This is open rebellion of a non-violent character. On 8th August, the resolution was passed at the AICC session in Mumbai, after which he spoke to the thousands who had gathered. Our struggle is now to start. Let every Indian consider himself a free man. He must be ready for the actual attainment of freedom or perish in the attempt. There is no room for office acceptance. There is no compromise on the demand for freedom. Freedom first and then only the rest. Do not be cowards, because cowards have no right to live. Freedom should be your mantra, and you should chant it. And on 9th August 1942, the historic Quit India movement was launched from the historic city of Mumbai. Gandhiji and his galaxy of followers went to jail once more in the cause of freedom. They were to come out only when the British government saw that there was no alternative to setting India free, and that only the manner of quitting remained to be negotiated. Meanwhile, Muhammad Ali Jinnah and his Muslim League had launched the movement for partition and for Pakistan. Those days brought pain and shame, that brothers had to live apart as two nations if they were to live as free men. Gandhiji fought partition every inch of the way, but in the end he said, "Maybe all of them are right, and I alone am floundering in the darkness. May God protect them and grant them all wisdom." Thus were born two nations, later a third. The birth pains were such as the world had never known. Tens of thousands massacred, millions uprooted and rendered homeless, families torn asunder, violence and hatred abounding. The Mahatma had feared and agonized over this, and those who would not heed him had to turn to him once more. Even as that tryst with destiny was kept, the 78-year-old saint walked virtually alone in the cities and villages of Bengal. He was, as Mountbatten was to describe him, a one-man boundary force. And as he walked, he heard the sounds of rage and hate around him, a saint being cursed by those who had once fallen at his feet. "You wish to do me ill, and so I have come," he said. "I have come here to serve Hindus and Muslims alike. I am going to place myself under your protection. You are welcome to turn against me if you wish. I have nearly reached the end of life's journey. I have not much further to go. But if you again go mad, I will not be a living witness to it."
बता दिया था कि मैं महात्मा कहाँ, लोग कहें कि तू महात्मा है, ऐसे में महात्मा थोड़ा हो सकता, मैं कहाँ ऐसा भी कोई मिरेकल कर सकता, जादू कर सकता, मेरे पास है ही नहीं, वो विद्या में सीखा नहीं। मैं तो जैसे आप ऐसे ही मामूली आदमी हूँ। आप में और मेरे में फर्क इतना है कि शायद आपका जितना विश्वास ईश्वर पर है उससे थोड़ा मेरे में ज्यादा होगा, लेकिन ज्यादा हुआ और कम, इससे कोई मैं महात्मा थोड़ा बन सकता हूँ और इससे मैं कोई जादू थोड़ा कर सकता हूँ, मेरे पास है ही नहीं। मैं तो इस तरह से ईश्वर को समझता भी नहीं, मैं तो ईश्वर को एक महान शक्ति मानता कि जो जिसको देखो तो एक बाजू से देखो तो उसका नाम सत्य है, दूसरी बाजू से देखो तो एक ही बात हो गई कि अहिंसा है, सत्य। अगर पूरा पालन करना है तो अहिंसा के सिवा नहीं हो सकता है। तो मैं तो उस ईश्वर को पूजता हूँ, उसमें कोई संदेह नहीं, लेकिन वो ईश्वर मुझको न महात्मा बनाता है, न मुझको कोई मेरे हाथ में जादुई लकड़ी रखता है। मेरे पास तो न जादुई लकड़ी है न कोई लकड़ी है।
And as he walked through riven city and village ablaze, through a miasma of hate, Narsi Bhagat's immortal bhajan, rendered here by S Subbulaxmi, sustained him in the darkest hours.
पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान न आने रे। वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे। सकल लोकमा सहुने वंदे निंदा न करे के निहीरे वाचका जननी तेनी रे समदृष्टि ने कृष्णा त्यागी समदृष्टि ने कृष्णा त्यागी परती जेने मातरे जीवात की असत्य न बोले पर धन नव झाले हाथ रे मोह माया व्याप नहीं जैन दृढ़ वैराग्य जना मन मारे मोह माया व्याप नहीं जैन दृढ़ वैराग्य जना मन मारे राम नाम सुतानी लागी राम नाम सुतानी लागी सकल तीरथ ते न तन मरे वर्ण लोभी ने कपट रहित से काम को धनिवाया रे भने नरसयो तेनु दर्शन करता कुल को तेरे साया रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे।
From Bengal he returned to Delhi, and his last fast began just before noon on 13th January 1948. It was a demand for peace, harmony and fraternity among the communities and between India and Pakistan. And when he won a promise on that demand, he broke his fast and, praying for peace to return, said, "If we remember that all life is one, there is no reason why we should treat one another as enemies. Let every Hindu study the Quran. Let Muslims ponder the meaning of the Gita and the Granth Sahib. As we respect our own religion, so must we respect other people's. What is just and right is just and right, whether it is inscribed in Sanskrit, Urdu, Persian or any other language. May God bestow sanity on us and the whole world. May He make us wiser and draw us closer to Him so that India and the whole world may be happy." The first signs of peace were in the air, but there was also hatred all around. And now the dark aura encompassed that slight, bent old man, wizened by age, shrunk by the rigors of fasting and self-denial. It was almost as though he felt that the end was near that Friday morning of 30th January 1948, when he and his closest followers began to chant from the song celestial, the Bhagavad Gita. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmat apariharyerthe, natvam shochitum arhasi. Certain is death for one who is born, and certain is rebirth for one who dies. Therefore, for what is inevitable, thou shouldst not grieve. At 5:20 that evening, the apostle of non-violence was shot dead, assassinated by the forces of hate. A light had gone out, and the nation and the whole world grieved. Jawaharlal Nehru, Prime Minister of Free India, in a broken, grief-choked voice, mourned the passing of the father of the nation.
Friends and comrades, the light has gone out of our lives, and there is darkness everywhere. And I do not quite know what to tell you and how to say it. Our beloved leader, Bapu as we called him, the father of the nation, is no more. Perhaps I am wrong to say that. Nevertheless, we will not see him again as we have seen him for these many years. We will not run to him for advice,
and seek solace from him. And that is a terrible blow, not to me only, but to millions and millions in this country. And it is a little difficult to soften the blow by any advice that I or anyone else can give you. The light has gone out, I said, and yet I was wrong, for the light that shone in this country was no ordinary light. The light that has illumined this country for these many years will illumine this country for many more years, and 1,000 years later that light will still be seen in this country, and the world will see it, and it will give solace to innumerable hearts. For that light represented something more than the immediate present. It represented the living truth, and the eternal man was with us with his eternal truths, reminding us of the right path, drawing us from error, taking this ancient country to freedom. All this has happened. There's so much more to do. There was so much more for him that we could never think that he was unnecessary or that he had done his task. But now, particularly when we are faced with so many difficulties, his not being with us is a blow most terrible to bear. A madman has put an end to his life, for I can only call him mad who did it. And yet there has been enough of poison spread in this country during the past years and months, and this poison has had effect on people's minds. We must face this poison. We must root out this poison, and we must face all the perils that encompass us, and face them not madly or badly, but rather in the way that our beloved teacher taught us to face them. The first thing to remember now is that no one of us dare misbehave because we are angry. We have to behave like strong, determined people, determined to face all the perils that surround us, determined to carry out the mandate that our great teacher and our great leader has given us, remembering always that if, as I believe, his spirit looks upon us and sees us, nothing would displease us so much as to see that we have indulged in unseemly behavior or in violence. So we must not do that. But that does not mean that we should be weak, but rather that we should in strength and in unity face all the troubles that are in front of us. Unity, I said, we must hold together, and all our petty troubles and difficulties and conflicts must be ended in the face of this great disaster. That great disaster is a symbol to us to remember of the big things of life and to forget the small things. We have thought too much of the small things. Now the time has come again, as in his life, in his death, he has reminded us of the big things of life, the living truth. And if we remember that, then it will be well with us and well with India.
The light had indeed gone out, but the memory of a man who saw those who were shunned as his children, who encouraged women to enter the mainstream of India's life, who above all believed in universal love, truth and non-violence as the path to free a nation of its alien bonds and ensure its survival, will live forever. As Albert Einstein, the greatest scientist of our age, wrote on Gandhiji's death, generations to come, it may be, will scarce believe that such a one as this, in flesh and blood, walked upon this earth. Gandhi saw a free nation born in travail, as he had feared. He had tried to bring peace, but death overtook him before he could heal the wounds of partition. But history went on, and a nation born a dominion sought to become a proud republic. A constituent assembly was formed, and to its deliberations no greater contribution was made than that by Baba Sahib, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Sensing the problems ahead, the issues they would have to consider, Dr. Ambedkar addressed the Constituent Assembly.
That in order to make a start, in order to induce every party, every section in this country, it would be the act of greatest statesmanship for the majority party even to make a concession to the prejudices of people who are not prepared to march together. And it is for that I propose to make this appeal. Let us leave aside slogans. Let us leave aside words which frighten people. Let us even make concession to the prejudices of our opponents. Bring them in so that they may willingly join with us on marching upon that road, which, as I said, if we walk long enough, must necessarily lead us to unity.
The constitution that emerged ensured that more than lip service would be paid to the uplift of the scheduled castes, that they would not only have a place equal to others in the new India, but would enjoy special reservations in legislatures and public services. To every Indian, the constitution assured liberty, equality and fraternity. Jawaharlal Nehru, lonely heir to the legacy of a stressed nation, saw in its steel plants, its huge power plants, its great industries, the new temples of the future. He saw India as a vibrant modern nation that would take its place among the great nations of the world. At the inauguration of the great Bhakra Nangal power project in 1963, he said,
Those of you who have wandered about India may have seen many of the great works that we are doing all over the country. You may have seen not only individual great works like our great river valley schemes or Sindri or Chittaranjan or the many things in Bangalore or elsewhere all over India, or our great national laboratories and the like. You will have felt that the whole of India is in some kind of commotion. Or if I may put it this way, we talk about Mother India, that Mother India was in labor, producing, creating things. So, Mother India is in labor. We of our generation, many of us present here, belong to that generation which fought for the freedom of India. We threw ourselves into the struggle for the freedom of India. We are children of the revolution in India. And do not imagine that the revolution in India was not a revolution because it was a peaceful one. It was one of the biggest revolutions that the world has had. A revolution does not mean the breaking of heads. A revolution means changing things in a big way. We made India independent. Big enough change in this world. So we are children of that revolution. And that revolution is not over. And we have still to continue it. We finished it in a way in the political sphere. We have to continue it in the social and the economic sphere. We cannot remain static.
जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा।
By Nehru's side was an even stronger leader, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the unifier of modern India, who welded a patchwork quilt of British India and Indian states into a unified nation from Kashmir to Kerala. From the mighty Himalayas, described by Kalidasa, Astyuttarasyam dishi devatatma Himalayo nam nagadhiraja Purvaha parotoya nidhi bagahya Sthitaha prithivya iva manadanda. Down to Kanyakumari, where three great oceans merge and mingle at the feet of Mother India.
Ruthlessness or rigor of repressive machinery of government can and has enabled us to gain a sudden improvement, but it is neither creditable to you nor to us to have recourse to such a distasteful course. Besides, this method would not bring about lasting results, and ultimately we would, I am sure, be faced with problems much more complicated and disturbing than those which immediately demand solution. This is hardly the time to apportion blame. Let us not therefore concentrate on mutual fault finding, but on mutual assistance, so that we can each one of us lend our hand to the speedy solution of the vast problems which an evacuation virtually amounting to mass exchange of population entails. The bitterness of sufferings, the sorrow of losses, the despair of quick results, and the distress and the seemingly slow pace of progress would be submerged by the overriding need of concerted action. We can take account of these later. Let us get on with the job in the hope that we will do it well, and the faith that despite the shock which the whole organization has received from the recent disturbances, we shall acquit ourselves creditably in one of the great rescue projects of history. Jai Hind.
Sadly, he died before the first blush of freedom had faded, and Jawaharlal was left with only a few of his old colleagues. Among them was Maulana Azad, the great literateur and intellectual, who became India's first education minister. Addressing the National Committee for UNESCO in 1949, he spelt out the underlying and unifying principles of India's composite culture.
दुनिया को 25 बरस के अंदर दो आलमगीर खुरेजियों में से गुजरना पड़ा। इसका लाजमी नतीजा यह था कि तमाम सोचने समझने वाले दिमागों के अंदर अमन और सलामती की ज़रूरत की एक नई लगन पैदा हो गई। ऐसी लगन जिसका अभी तक इंसानी दिलो दिमाग को तजुर्बा नहीं हुआ था। लोगों ने महसूस किया कि अब दुनिया के सामने आगे बढ़ने के सिर्फ दो ही रास्ते रह गए। एक रास्ता उसे आलमगीर बर्बादियों की तरफ ले जा रहा है, दूसरा उसके लिए अमन और सलामती की दुनिया पैदा कर देता है। पहली राह यह है कि हम अपने सोचने समझने के वही तरीके काम में लाते रहें जो आज तक काम में लाते रहे हैं और जिनका नतीजा जंग की बर्बादियों की सूरत में निकलता रहा है। दूसरी राह यह है कि उन तरीकों को पूरी तरह बदल दें और अपने झगड़ों के फैसले के लिए कोई पुरअमन जरिया तलाश करें। दुनिया का यही आलमगीर एहसास है जिसने बिलाखिर यूनाइटेड नेशंस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का रूप इख्तियार किया और कौमों और मुल्कों के मिलाप का एक मरकजी संगठन पैदा हो गया। लेकिन इंसान के तमाम झगड़ों का असली सरचश्मा कहाँ है? उसकी सूतें पहले इंसान के दिमाग में उबलती हैं, फिर वहां से बहती हुई निकलती हैं और चारों तरफ फैलने लगती। इसलिए जब तक इंसानी दिमाग को नहीं बदला जाता, उसे खौफ, शक, बेएतमादी, रश्क और हसद के असरात से पाक नहीं किया जाता, लड़ाई और खुरेजी के असबाब का दरवाजा बंद नहीं हो सकता।
After a long spell of 17 years, with its dreams and hopes, its plans and projects, its struggles and successes, Jawaharlal Nehru passed away in office in 1964. It was left to President Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, the philosopher-statesman, to announce to the world that the light had gone out, just as it had 16 years earlier. In the words of the Daily Telegraph, London, No king or head of state could approach the intellectual distinction of Dr. Radhakrishnan.
If we have to build a world without arms, a world of peace, a fellowship of nations, it can only be on the basis of the three fundamental principles of political freedom for all, economic opportunity for all, and creative freedom for all. Nations are here to help one another. It is selfishness, it is indolence, it is inertia, it is a perverse fastidiousness that makes nations look upon themselves as closed entities. Such a kind of perverse chauvinistic nationalism, which makes us look upon our neighbors as aliens to us, has no justification. Nothing human is alien. We must make the world safe for diversity, for peace, for cultural cooperation, and for international understanding. Our two nations are committed to the great task of building a world order based on the concept of law and the principle of justice. We are convinced that these principles will prevail and the world will enter into a new stage of peaceful cooperation. Thank you.
Wars had been fought with Pakistan and China while Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister. In the days that followed, there were to be more external wars and intensified internal conflicts, floods and drought, famine and pestilence, economic malaise and political turmoil. But the nation survived it all and perhaps emerged the stronger for them. Its progress on several fronts, agricultural, industrial, economic and cultural, impressive, thanks to dedicated leadership by Lal Bahadur Shastri, Indira Gandhi, Morarji Desai and other stalwarts. A high watermark was the help India rendered to the people of East Pakistan in their quest for liberty and freedom. Out of the 1971 war, there emerged a third nation in the subcontinent, Bangladesh, under the charismatic leadership of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. India took another momentous step and entered the world of modern scientific achievement when it exploded an atomic device in Pokhran, Rajasthan in 1974. It was an explosion that showed to the world India's talent and capability to survive in the modern age. But India never forgot the lessons that Gandhiji had taught of peaceful coexistence and non-violence, ideals which Jawaharlal Nehru had emphasized in his policy of non-alignment when he led India into the Committee of Nations. What we have created, said Indira Gandhi, will be for peaceful purposes only. In the youth of India, Indira Gandhi saw the future, the opportunity to build a new nation based on science and technology, a nation in which they would be concerned for the environment and for the dignity of labor. Talking to students in Shimla, she exhorted them.
जो भी कार्यक्रम हमने आरंभ किए हैं, वो कार्यक्रम आप लोगों को पूरे करने हैं, आपको चलाने हैं, आपको आगे बढ़ाने हैं. हम कुछ मार्गदर्शन मतलब रास्ता दिखा सकते हैं, लेकिन वो रास्ता बनाना और उस रास्ते पर चलना ये आप सबकी जिम्मेदारी है, आपका काम है. तो इसलिए ज़रूरी है कि आप समझें कि हमने कैसा रास्ता बनाया और हम समझें कि आप उस रास्ते को कैसे और आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं. हमने बहुत सी गलतियां की, शायद इसलिए कि एक बहुत नया काम था, एक इतना बड़े देश को आज़ादी के रास्ते पर चलाना और इतने बड़ी बड़ी कठिनाइयां उस समय आईं. तो शायद जो जनता को और अपने उस समय के बच्चों को आज़ादी के लड़ाई के बारे में बताना चाहिए था, वो हमने पूरी कहानी नहीं बताई. और बहुत से इस समय के बालक हैं, युवक हैं, जो पूरी तौर से उस सुंदर कहानी को नहीं पहचानते. आजकल की जो युवा पीढ़ी है, उस आज़ादी की लड़ाई को, उसका निजी अनुभव तो उनको नहीं है. ये कोई हो ही नहीं सकती क्योंकि उस वक्त वो पैदा ही नहीं हुए थे या बहुत छोटे हुए थे. लेकिन आगे का कैसे हिंदुस्तान बनाएंगे, उसके लिए ये पहले की भी कुछ बातें जाननी ज़रूरी होती हैं. कई दफ़े जब मैं कहीं जाती हूँ ये कहा जाता है कि नई रोशनी आई और ये सब बातें ज़रा पुरानी हो गई हैं, क्योंकि आज़ादी में और ग़ुलामी में फ़र्क क्या है? ये फ़र्क है कि जब ग़ुलाम होते हैं तो दूसरे के हाथों में होते हैं और आज़ाद होते हैं तो अपना रास्ता खुद बना सकते हैं। अगर हम फिर वो आज़ादी किसी के हाथों में दे दें तो हमारी पूरी आज़ादी नहीं हुई। किसी के हाथों में देने के माने ये नहीं है कि किसी बाहर के देश के हाथों में दें, ये भी है कि अपने देश में भी अपनी जिम्मेदारी हम छोड़ दें। सब लोग समझने लगे हैं कि उनके हक क्या हैं। कहीं भी हम जाते हैं तो अक्सर एक मांगों की लिस्ट फेरिस्त मिल जाती है हमको कि इस प्रांत के लिए या इस शहर या इस ज़िले के लिए क्या क्या चाहिए, वो सब लोग कहते हैं। लेकिन कोई ये नहीं बताता है कि वो अपने ज़िले या अपने प्रांत के लिए क्या करेंगे, और वो उतना ही ज़रूरी है, ख़ास तौर से जो युवा पीढ़ी है। आशाएं तो देश को अपनी युवा पीढ़ी से होती हैं, और वो उन आशाओं को अगर पूरा नहीं कर सके तो एक नेता, 10 नेता, 40 नेता भी कुछ करें तो देश में परिवर्तन आने वाला नहीं। वो तो युवा पीढ़ी किस दिशा में जाए उससे ही देश का भविष्य हमको मालूम होगा कि कैसे बनेगा। तो एक बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी आपके हाथों में है, और ये हमारा सौभाग्य है हमारे देश का कि हमारी युवा पीढ़ी कभी कभी गलती कर जाती हैं, कभी कभी ये जलाने में और इस चीज़ में बहुत थोड़े से लोग पढ़ते हैं, लेकिन अधिकतर का स्तर बहुत ऊंचा है।
But even as she sought to ensure economic equality, she also realized that the social equality that the founders of the nation had hoped to bring about was a distant dream. Casteism and communalism remained the bane of a nation where economic progress was essential to remove the shackles of poverty. Shed your caste prejudices, shut out your communal outlook, she urged her people. Only then will there be faster progress in the country.
The concepts of democracy, of socialism, of secularism are not yet clear in the minds of our people. It was after considerable consideration that we chose the path of democracy. Not because it is the quickest path, perhaps it isn't, but because it is the path which helps the people to grow to political maturity. And we felt that that was most important for our people. For them to feel involved in what is happening in the country, to participate in the development of the country, this can only be done if they have certain choices open to them. And this is a system which gives them that choice. What can be more easy in a country like India to arouse people emotionally with slogans of religion, with slogans of language, or with other regional interests? And these are some of the matters which come in the way of our progress and of speedy development. We are a country steeped in tradition. Can we really be democratic unless we sweep away some of that tradition which is not relevant to life of today? But we find how many of our functions, how much of our time goes in something which has happened long, long ago. I have nothing against the religious functions of people. But how much time can we spend remembering something that happened thousands of years ago, or maybe did not even happen in the way we think it happened? So much of it is looking back. Even our national leaders, they are great leaders. They have inspired us. They have brought the country forward. They have given us independence. But the new generation has to go forward. It cannot keep looking back, however great a person was. But so much of our energy goes in observing festivals and other things looking backward. You cannot look backward and go forward. You have to make up your mind which you want to do. There can be no democracy if you're looking backwards. There can be no democracy if you have a communal outlook and you have false barriers between men and men, citizen and citizen. There can be no democracy if you do not have socialism, because democracy and inequality cannot coexist. We talk of socialism, of equality, but we almost always think of it merely in terms of the economic program. Can there be equality if one says this man cannot drink where I am drinking? This man cannot sit with me where I am sitting? It doesn't matter what economic programs you have. If this situation continues as we have in parts of our country, you can't have democracy, no matter how well your parliament or your assembly work. So these are some fundamental matters to which we have to give thought.
In her third term, the tragic Punjab situation threw a shadow over the nation. And towards the end, as she was walking down a garden path in her residence, her own bodyguards pumped bullets into her and cut down a life dedicated to making India a world power. Rajiv Gandhi had left the airlines to help his mother when his younger brother Sanjay had died in an act of daredevilry in the skies. When his mother was assassinated, he found himself skyrocketed into a position held earlier by her and his grandfather. In his moment of deepest grief, he spoke with a dignity and maturity that belied his years.
Indira Gandhi, India's Prime Minister, has been assassinated. She was mother not only to me, but to the whole nation. She served the Indian people to the last drop of her blood. The country knows with what tireless dedication she toiled for the development of India. You all know how dear to her heart was the dream of a united, peaceful and prosperous India. An India in which all Indians live together as one big family in an atmosphere free from mutual rivalries and prejudices. By her untimely death, her work remains unfinished. It is for us to complete this task. This is a moment of profound grief. The foremost need now is to maintain our balance. We can and must face this tragic ordeal with fortitude, courage and wisdom. We should remain calm and exercise the maximum restraint. We should not let our emotions get the better of us, because passion would cloud judgment. Nothing would hurt the soul of our beloved Indira Gandhi more than the occurrence of violence in any part of our country. It is of prime importance at this moment that every step we take is in the right direction. Indira Gandhi is no more, but her soul lives. India lives. India is immortal. The spirit of India is immortal. I know that the nation will recognize its responsibilities and that we shall shoulder the burden heroically and with determination. The nation has placed a great responsibility on me by asking me to head the government. I shall be able to fulfill it only with your support and cooperation. I shall value your guidance in upholding the unity, integrity and honor of our country. Jai Hind.
From Jawaharlal Nehru, the grandfather, to Rajiv Gandhi, the grandson, India had seen nearly 5 decades of travail and triumph, recession and progress. In those years, the world had changed everywhere. Doubts had begun to surface about the efficacy of state-controlled economies, of the relevance of central planning, and what had come to be known in India as the permit license Raj. In this world of change, Rajiv Gandhi was determined to lead a strong and vibrant India into the 21st century. New directions, new initiatives, new technology missions were launched. On 8th January 1985, referring to India's indivisibility and government's intentions to offer the healing touch wherever secession had been sought, he spoke of the need for faster progress, for greater application of science and technology, and for faster implementation of social welfare programs.
You have spoken clearly and unmistakably. You have given a mandate for unity, for strength, for harmony. The whole world sees once again the vitality of India's democratic tradition. The political system built up by our great leaders, Gandhiji, Panditji, and Indiraji, has marched to new strength. India's ancient heritage, going back to the dawn of mankind, stands renewed in freedom. Tasks await us, and we should approach them in a spirit of togetherness. United, there is no challenge that we cannot meet. Secularism is the basis of our unity. Communalism and all other narrow loyalties are incompatible with unity. We have to fight communalism and suspicion and insecurity it breeds. It is my first duty to safeguard the life, property, and legitimate rights of citizens belonging to every faith. We must go beyond the prevention and suppression of violence. We must cure the minds where hatred and prejudice arise and grow. We must take the campaign for unity to every village and every street of every town. An ideological battle against communalism, fanaticism, must be waged in our schools and universities. In a few months, we shall begin the 7th plan, the war against our old enemies, poverty, unemployment, disease, ignorance continues. In the weeks ahead, we shall review our existing policies and programs to ensure that our basic objectives of growth with justice are realized within the stipulated timetable. Far-reaching proposals for change have been formulated and are under consideration. Improvement in productivity, absorption of modern technology, and fuller utilization of capacity must acquire the status of a national campaign. I have asked the Ministries of Science and Technology and Industries to prepare a specific proposal to achieve these objectives. I have reviewed the foreign trade policies and directed that concrete steps should be taken in the next weeks to give a fresh impetus to our exports. The 20-point program for the weaker sections is being restructured to be more effective. Continuing deforestation has brought us face to face with a major ecological and socio-economic crisis. The trend must be halted. I propose immediately to set up a National Wastelands Development Board with the object of bringing 5 million hectares of land every year under fuel wood and fodder plantations. Administrative reform is crucial for social and economic transformation. It is for this reason that I decided to take under my own charge the Department of Personnel and Administrative Reforms. A full-scale review of administrative organization, policies, and procedures is in progress. I have asked that the decision-making process should be decentralized, along with enforcement of accountability. Rules and procedures will be drastically simplified to speed up decision-making. We have inherited a well-tested and consistent foreign policy which serves our national interests. We have always believed in working for peace. Our policy is to be friends with all countries on the basis of reciprocity and mutual benefit. Our commitment to non-alignment, a new world economic order based on justice, equality, and mutual cooperation is unshakable. One aspect of our foreign policy needs special attention. We have deep historical and cultural links with our immediate neighbors in South Asia. We share the same memories of foreign rule and look forward to the same prospects of development and a better future for our people. I believe firmly that we can work together to realize these common aims. We do have some problems, but we are determined to resolve them. In the last few weeks, it was my privilege to have traveled over all parts of our beloved and beautiful country. I saw millions of fellow Indians face to face. In all the cultural diversity of our people, what stood out was the unity of India. It is a privilege to be born in India and to be heir to its great civilization. We have so much to secure for our own people and so much to give to the world. We are passing through a difficult phase. Our burdens are immense, our road long and arduous. Your cooperation is vital for achieving the national goals. I give you my greetings for the new year. May it bring happiness to everyone. From time to time, I shall share with you my ideas, my hopes, my struggles. But even more, I want to listen to you, to your difficulties, your ideas, your hopes. Together, we shall share the burden and the ecstasy of building our India. Jai Hind.
Sadly, he did not live to see India usher in an age of economic liberalism or to see the 21st century of which he spoke so often. falling like his mother to deadly assassins trained as human bombs. In the last few years, India has come a long way from the Nehruvian dreams of temples of modern India. Slowly but steadily, the nation has progressed from a country of shortages to a country of self-sufficiency and confidently looks forward to becoming a country of plenty. Steeped in the ways of an ancient past, it has begun to move into the rapidly changing world of tomorrow. But some things have not changed. India's love of freedom, its championing of the cause of the underprivileged and oppressed everywhere, its belief in the oneness of humanity, its commitment to democracy. Despite aberrations and the trauma of partition, India has been a model of peaceful coexistence where communities belonging to a host of religions and speaking a variety of tongues coexist harmoniously. As the largest democracy in the world looks towards the 21st century with hope, courage and faith, it dedicates itself to cherishing its hard-won freedom. After all, it is, as the great Urdu poet Muhammad Iqbal wrote many decades ago, the best country in the world.
सबसे ऊंचा हमसाया आसमां का, पर्वत वो सबसे ऊंचा हमसाया आसमां का, वो संतरी हमारा, वो पासवा हमारा, हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा की हजारों नदियां गोदी में खेलती है, जिसकी हजारों नदियां, गुलशन है जिसके दम से रश के जीना हमारा, हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा मजहब नहीं सिखाता, आपस में